What's happening? Chris Martinez here. I am the host of Operation Agency Freedom. And today I'm also the sheriff in town. I have a very special episode for you, which I'm calling like the cowboy episode. And today we're going to be talking about money. If your butthole puckers up a little bit when we start talking about money, then this episode is for you. Because guess what? The purpose of a business is to make money. And that's okay. It's totally okay to make money. It's good to make money. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about that and why it's totally okay and why you should be 100% comfortable and striving to be able to make money for yourself and for your company. So let's dive into the podcast. So what's up, everybody? Wanted to do something a little bit different today on this cowboy hat episode. I decided to wear some of my favorite costumes. This is my camping flannel, and this is my cowboy hat that I only get to wear every once in a while. My wife hates it, but she's not here right now, so who cares? So I'm just gonna wear it anyways. I do not know how to ride a horse. I do not know how to lasso anything. Um, it's just for the costume. I mean, I think everybody looks good in a cowboy hat. I do say so myself. But today we're going to be talking about money. So why not, right? Why not dress up when we're talking about money and just make it a little bit fun for you guys? Because I know some of you guys, as soon as we start talking about money and making money and having lots of money, like people get a little bit weirded out by that. And I want to change that. And I want to talk about a story about myself and kind of like my history, upbringing around money. So I did not grow up in an entrepreneurial household. My grandfather, or on my dad's side, he immigrated from Mexico. Same with my grandmother. They were both very, very poor. Neither of them knew how to read or write. My dad went to college, and he was definitely the most educated. I don't know if he was the first in our family to go to college. Um, he never thought he was going to go to college, but eventually did and did very well and was very intelligent, much smarter than me. My mother immigrated from Taiwan and she grew up dirt poor. Like literally, she would talk about how she grew up on a dirt floor when she was a kid. And so while wasn't raised to spend money frivolously, I was definitely raised in a more like scarcity mindset household. And I'm telling you this story because hopefully I can connect with some of you that are listening, but also to let you know that if this was your history, it does not determine your future moving forward. So I will say, I didn't grow up in a household where we played Monopoly, right? And where my parents had me set up with a definitely not a trust fund. Didn't get parents' credit card to help me build my credit and understand credit. I made a ton of mistakes when I was younger and in my 20s and got into credit card problems, getting those stupid credit cards that they give you on campus at college. Don't ever do those, by the way, if you're listening to this and you happen to be in college. So I had a lot of kind of trial and error with my financial education as an adult because I didn't really get it at home. And I don't blame that on my parents at all. They were just doing the best that they could. And they never got any financial education from their parents, so they were just doing the best that they could. And that's just what happened. But as an adult, it is my responsibility, especially as now as a business owner, I have to understand the numbers. I recognize and I've learned from other very smart people that your numbers don't lie. And basically, like that'll give you the pulse of what's going on in the business. And it'll also show you what's going right and what's going wrong. And you can dive in and start fixing problems after you dive into the numbers. So when it comes to money, like I vividly remember my dad complaining about rich people. Like, "Oh, those rich people, they just blah, 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 blah." Or, "Those people are taking advantage of the system." I think that's something that we hear very frequently, especially if you don't understand how the American tax system works and you see people getting away with these loopholes, right? And you think they're cheating the system. Actually, they're not. And especially if they're business owners and they're creating jobs and they're able to reinvest profits back into the business that are going to create more wealth for other people. I'm all for that. I think I'm one of the few entrepreneurs out there that's actually lived in Mexico. I lived in Mexico for 5 years. I saw that system. I saw how difficult it is to build a business and just build wealth and upward mobility for yourself in entrepreneurship in a country that does not value business and entrepreneurship and upward mobility in general. And so I think that that the United States is the best place on earth, as far as I can tell, the best place on earth to start a business. If you're not an entrepreneur, I don't know why you would live in the United States, but if you are an entrepreneur, I think it's an amazing place to live. I think it's the best place on earth to start a business and build your wealth through entrepreneurship. But anyways, I digress. So getting back to what I was taught, like I definitely remember the money doesn't grow on trees mentality. And well, we weren't poor, like we were very much middle class. My parents had education, right? And they passed on, that was one of the things that I got lucky with. They passed this on to me, the value of education. So I always strived to do well in school because that was something that was instilled in me and was like, you're going to do well in school, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a degree. But we never talked about money, like they would talk about um just how hard it was to make money. And a lot of the times it was not like directly, but like indirectly talk about how rich people are bad, And fortunately, I had, access to some people in my life that were wealthy, that were entrepreneurs, and so that gave me a glimmer as to maybe what my parents are telling me is not all true, because yes, there are absolutely rich people out there that are bad people, that are assholes, right? But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I don't think that just because you're rich, it makes you an asshole, right? I think that um, there's the same proportion of assholes that are rich as there are assholes that are poor. Just because you have money or don't have money doesn't make you like a saint or doesn't make you a bad person. Um, so I had experience, I got to meet some people growing up and that are still, well, one was my uncle and he's passed away. I got to see, how he built his wealth and he was a very nice guy and he had a lot of toys and stuff like that, which was really cool, especially when you're a kid. And then I have another friend of mine, his name is Brian, still a mentor to me today. He was my friend's dad, my friend Peter's dad. I just saw him and had lunch with him like 2 weeks ago and he was an entrepreneur, got started in construction rental, I should say, business. Built that up, sold it, got into self storage. Also has a ton of real estate, over like 100 units in real estate. Very, very financially successful guy. Also, incredibly nice person. Like somebody who's always been there for me. After my dad died, to this day, he's still the only one that texts me on my dad's birthday. How he remembers what my dad's birthday was, I don't know, but he always remembers. He sends me a text, just says, "Hey, your dad would be proud of you." He's the only one on this planet that ever does that to this day, and it's been 17 years since my dad died. So he's an example of somebody who's super, super wealthy, super successful in business, did not have much handed to him at all, worked his butt off, built a massive fortune, and he's incredibly nice. And so those two people were the ones who really kind of gave me a glimpse as to like, maybe this can be different from the narrative that I'm being taught by my parents. And so, eventually as I grew up, and I got older and I started to learn about entrepreneurship and business and self-development, and I start reading these books. Like I think the first one that everybody reads probably is Rich Dad Poor Dad. And you start to recognize like, hey, there's a different way to go about this. Like he talks about the cash flow quadrant and how employees are the ones who always get screwed over. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. If you never read the book Tax Free Wealth, I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic book where you can learn about the American tax system and how it was designed. And basically, if you play by the rules of the tax system, you will have a much better chance of building wealth and you won't pay more taxes than you need to. And you can find those legal loopholes, which I think are great, which are basically advantages that everybody could take advantage of, so that you pay less in taxes and keep more of your money. So as I'm reading these books and I'm getting exposed to other people that are starting to teach me things that I'd never heard of. I did keep an open mind the entire time. And I was like, you know what? These people probably have some knowledge that I don't have. And clearly they've got a life and a lifestyle that I aspire to have in many respects. So I'm going to listen to these people. And I started to recognize that, having money is a good thing. And I think one of the biggest shifts that you can have is you recognize, like, what is it that I want to do for the world? What do I want to leave behind? So, one of the things that I want to do is I want to leave behind all of my wealth. I want to donate it all to charity, and I want to try and make the world a better place with the wealth that I've happened to accumulate in this life. So, I want to donate, and of course, these are going to be very vetted charities, but I want to donate to like animal organizations. Obviously, I'm a huge dog lover. My dogs are literally down here at my feet. I don't know if you can hear them licking, by the way, but no, no, stop it. I love animals. I love my dogs. So donating to an animal charity would be fantastic. I'm a huge advocate for the cancer community. Obviously, like you probably heard me talk about my dad, how he died of pancreatic cancer. I would love to be able to donate money to cancer research to help eradicate cancer or prevent cancer or just be able to find cancer earlier. And so that's something that I would love to use my wealth for to donate to that. Children of abuse, I would love to be able to donate to that just because I also have a lot of experience with that. And I would love to be able to help these kids that by no fault of their own were born into very abusive, either emotionally, physically, both. They were born into those to that environment. It's not very fair, but there is help for them as well. So there's a number of things that I want to be able to do. For me to be able to do those things, I need to make money. I need to make money. It doesn't mean that I have to wait until I'm dead to be able to donate all this money. Even better, if I have money today, then I can invest whatever I feel is appropriate into these things that I care about while also building, this big pool that I would like to be able to distribute once I'm gone. Um, so I would not be able to do these things if I did not have access to funds and money and wealth in my business, right? So I am able to help more people with the money that I have. Now, that's just me. I have these kind of philanthropic goals where I want to help other people. I think that's good. I think that everybody should do that. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to hoard it for yourself and swim in a pile of money, and when you die, you want to bury it all with you, more power to you. Do I think you're doing it the wrong way? Yes, but it's your money. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Either way, you need to think about what are the big things that you want to do with your life. Maybe it's just, I want to send my kids to college and I don't want to have them to repay these crazy student loans, right? Maybe that's your goal, right? So that is your purpose for trying to accumulate wealth. And you have a small window to be able to do that because your kids are going to grow up and they're going to go to college around 18 or 19 years old. So whenever you start your business, you basically have that window to accomplish that goal, to save that money or put it into an investment account or whatever you're going to do. So I think it's very important to be, when we're talking about money, to first think about what is it that I want to do with my life? Ask yourself, like, how do I want to be remembered? And then you can start to reverse engineer how much good can I do for the world, or how much easier is it going to be for me to accomplish my goals when I reach this amount of money? What's the number? Like, how much money do you need? So, like, I had a friend, Tim, his daughter had some horrible disease where she was born and your skin literally peels off. I can't think of the name of it, but it is the most gut wrenching story that you've ever heard. And the kids usually they die pretty soon after birth because they'll get an infection. Imagine literally going and trying to give your daughter a kiss on the cheek, and as you kiss her on the cheek, her skin peels off, causing excruciating pain for this tiny little baby. And there's nothing you can do. There was literally no cure. And so Tim's daughter was able to survive. I think she made it to like 2 or 3 years old. And unfortunately, she got sick. She got an infection, if I can remember, and she passed away. And it's just, if you hear him tell the story, like I heard him I was in a room for like, I don't know, 1,000 people, and he was giving a talk because he was trying to raise funds for research. And so, he was telling the story and he was singing because he's a musician, and 1,000 people there, not a dry eye in the room. I mean, I don't even know how much money he raised, but he was able to raise over $1 million for this charity. And he did it in like a couple of years, or maybe even 1 year. He raised $1 million and they freaking cured the disease. They found the cure for the disease with the money that he was able to raise. Now, that's through fundraising. If he was an entrepreneur and he could have made the money and donated all the money himself, guess what? I guarantee you he would have done that. So that's a prime example of somebody who's using their wealth and their big mission, like their big mission in life, the big thing that they want to accomplish before they die. And they used that and they were able to take that money that they generated and put it towards a good cause. You can absolutely do the same thing with your business. I would encourage you to for everybody to do this. Of course, as I was saying, it's your prerogative. You just want to keep the money and swim in a pile like Scrooge McDuck. But think about all the big things that you want to do in your life and how money empowers you to be able to do that. So I will leave you with one book, and I'm just going to kind of summarize it for you. My friend Russ, he recommended this book when I was doing his coaching program a few years back. It's called Thou Shalt Prosper. I did the audio version. I think the audio version is good. You might want to get the printed book if you really want to read it and probably read it multiple times. But just to kind of summarize what this book is about, it talks about the Jewish faith and their approach towards money. And if you look at, and I'm not stereotyping, and I hope I don't get canceled for this, or somebody's going to call me uh, what do they call it? Somebody who hates the Jewish people. I can't think of the name. Is it xenophobic? No, I don't know. Whatever you call it. So basically, they talk about in the book, it's a rabbi who writes the book, and he talks about the Jewish faith's approach towards money. And some of the big things that he talks about in that book that I really, really enjoyed was he says that Jews basically say that if you have wealth, if you have money, that is because God is blessing you for helping other people, which I thought was a really cool approach because I grew up in a crazy born again Christian household. I'm not religious, by the way. If you want to have a religion, that's up to you. I am not religious. But in the faith that I grew up or saw, when I was a child, money was like, like if you had a lot of money, like for the most part, like people look down on you, like they would like admire you from a distance, but it was like one of those churches where people talk a lot of shit about you behind your back. And of course, like you had to tithe every month, which I think also is actually a good practice. But um, like there was never a mention that having wealth is literally a blessing from God because it shows that you helped other people. So you look at it like that and you say, wow, that person who has so much wealth, they must have helped a lot of people, right? How cool would that be in our society? If we looked at people that were making a lot of money, if you look at that agency owner who's got like a big giant house, cars, they go on the vacations, they send their kids to the best school, they donate to a bunch of different charities, they're constantly helping the community. And we look at that person and we say, wow, they must have helped a lot of people, right? We don't think like that as a society. That's just not how our minds work. We usually think like, ooh, they probably did something really bad, right? Everybody, I think, in the United States has heard the phrase like, behind every great fortune is a great crime, right? You guys are finishing the sentence for me. That's just kind of like how our mentality is. But I love this concept that they teach in the book of that how when you see somebody who's generated a lot of wealth, their faith, they believe that that's a blessing from God for helping a lot of people, which I thought was great. I thought it was great. So I would encourage you to pick up this book, give it a read, just learn through the principles that they talk about and some of like the common beliefs that are passed down. There is no doubt that in all parts of the world, the Jewish community is always thriving economically, right? Okay. So let's just put aside all the crazy conspiracy theories out there about why Jews have money. Okay. Let's put that bullshit aside. Any community that you go into, any country in the world that you go into, you will see the Jewish community thriving economically. They have healthy businesses. They're usually, very well off financially. They contribute it back to their communities as well. So it's very safe to say that they are doing something right when it comes to wealth accumulation. So what this book does is it peels back the curtains a little bit, and so that you can start to see like what are some of the things that they believe, because wealth ultimately starts with a mindset. If you start thinking money is bad, guess what? You're going to start repelling money. So as agency owners, and I bring this up today because agency owners typically they are like creatives or they're really good at technology, not necessarily business minded. Like I don't know a lot of agency owners that went to business school. It just doesn't really happen. And so we're trying to figure out this entrepreneurship thing while also trying to manage our passion for design and technology and advertising and whatever. And we end up running into this roadblock where it's like, man, we're really good at this tech stuff, but we're just not finding that money side of it. Like I'm just not making enough money. And I believe a lot of it starts with the mindset. So once you open up your mindset to how to make more money, how to generate more wealth, how to serve more people and generate more wealth, then this game becomes a whole lot easier. And you start to recognize that your preconceived notions about wealth I had were actually holding you back. So it's totally okay to make money, guys, as agency owners. It does not mean that you're ripping people off. It does not mean that you're ripping off your clients. If anything else, if you charge more money and you're able to help more clients and help them get results, that's a great thing. Charge more money and get them bigger results. That's great for everybody, right? Focus on that. So get the book, listen to this podcast twice because I want you to just kind of pick apart all the little lessons that I'm giving you. I want you to know that it is okay, and I would say it's required for you to make money as an agency owner. Don't feel bad about it. Like when we start talking about, or if you start thinking about wanting to make more money, that's totally okay. Just recognize that if you want to make more money, first, you got to open up your mind and change your mindset. Secondly, we really have to focus on serving, right? Serving our clients. My favorite quote from Zig Ziglar: you can have anything in this world if you just help enough other people get what they want. So think about that. Listen to this podcast a couple times. Let me know your comments. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Hope you like that.
Hey, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the podcast and also share it with friends, family, and basically anyone you know who will find the same value in this episode as you do. So, to get the latest from me, then let's connect on social media on the Facebooks at facebook.com/dude agency or Instagram at dudeagency.io. Then you can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and even TikTok. Yes, I'm that cool. We are on TikTok. Finally, go to our website at dudeagency.io, where you can see all of our other episodes of Operation Agency Freedom. Register for live trainings on how to run a highly profitable agency, and you can see exactly how we help marketing agencies fix their operations and scale to 8 figures and beyond. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time.